The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board released its May 2026 Market Watch report, recapping everything that happened in the 5th month of the year, and that is what today's video is going to be all about. We're going to dive into the headline numbers, some of the headlines that have come out since this report was released, as well as some interesting trends when it comes to offer nights. I know it's not a word many people like to hear, but I'm going to highlight kind of the 6 pockets, if you're looking for freehold properties, that you will more than likely find yourself up against more competition than elsewhere in the GTA. So all that in today's video. Stick with me as we get into it. Hey there, my name is Rob Marsiglio. I'm a sales representative of Valerie Real Estate. I'm out here in Durham Region serving the great people of this area, as well as elsewhere in the GTA. So if you want to work with me, appreciate what I'm putting into these videos each week, there's a link down in the description of the video to book a call directly with me. You can like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything going forward. Again, no fluff, just data-driven insights to help you with your home buying or home selling journey. All right, let's get into the headlines first. This one's from the CBC. So GTA home sales up for 3rd straight month as prices fall, says Real Estate Board. So a total of 6,583 homes in the region changed hands last month, up 6.3% compared to May 2025, while sales also increased 10% from April on a seasonally adjusted basis. None of this is surprising. If you tuned into last week's video, I kind of covered how we expect to see most markets actually have sales increase year over year, with the exception of Durham Region, which did hold true. Durham was the one region that came in below. Toronto condos actually eked out one more sale this May than we saw last May, so technically it was up, even though you might call it flat. So anyways, sales trending up at this part of the year in the spring market is not out of the ordinary. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board said the average selling price was down 4.6% year over year to $1,069,700, and the constant benchmark price, which is meant to represent the typical home, was down 6.7% year over year. So again, sales up, and this is something we've talked about on this channel often. We feel like sales volume will recover prior to actual selling prices. It's going to take some sustained pressure, low inventory, a big uptick in demand and buying activity to really drive prices further. So while we are seeing sales increase, we are not seeing tight market conditions, really cheap lending scenarios, economic certainty that would drive future price growth. So I think that this trend of downwards prices is something that we will kind of sustain for the next little bit of time, but let's see if the board agrees. So TRREB's Chief Information Officer, Jason Mercer, added that selling prices could start to grow in the back half of the year if sales continue to strengthen relative to listings, but buyers have substantial negotiating power for now. So again, we are seeing technically prices climb right now at this part of the year. We're just not seeing year over year increases, and I wouldn't be surprised to see things fall off into the summer, then again climb slowly in the fall. But again, we have to look back at last year once we get to the fall market to see if prices are actually going to be up year over year. I don't know that we're going to see this year over year price recovery and gains as soon as this year, but call it in the next 3 to 5 years, I'd expect us to see a bottom before things start to recover. The last thing from this article to touch on is that bidding wars are on the rise. So Scott Ingram, who is somebody who's an awesome follow over on Twitter, if you don't follow him already, go over there and check him out. He does a great breakdown every single week of the 416 months of inventory, how our inventory trending, how our sales trending, all the like. A very specific version of what I do on a weekly basis covering the entire GTA. But Scott says that he's seeing sellers list properties at an artificially low price in an attempt to drive competition between prospective buyers. He's seeing this happen more and more frequently right now as we get into the spring market. It's a strategy that does work when you have a lot of demand in certain pockets. We all know that real estate is hyper-local industry. Some markets could be super busy, while the next market over could be crickets, all depending on desirability of that pocket, amenities in the area, the prestige of the neighborhood could have a lot to play in this as well. And we're going to dive into this a little bit later in the video to wrap things up. But first, let's actually get into some more of the numbers from TRREB's Market Watch. Here's our year over year summary. So sales for 2026, as we know from the article, 6,583. We saw 6,195 last year. So a jump of 6.3%. The next few categories here, the next few stats are all down year over year. So new listings are down 18.9% from last year. Active listings are down 13.3% from last year. And it was right around this time last year that we actually saw active listings peak and then start to turn over and decrease through the summer months. So it's something I expect to see this year as well. And again, those average prices are down 4.6%. So again, kind of counterintuitively, we've talked about this in previous videos, you'd expect with tightening inventory and increased sales for prices to go up. But we're just not at that point now where inventory is so tight that buyers are all clamoring over just a few properties really driving prices up, which is what we tend to see in the GTA when we have these massive jumps in prices like we saw in 2016, 2017, and then 2021, let's call it, through early 2022. The numbers you kind of want to focus on here as well to give us an idea of market temperature are these listing and property days on market. Those are both up 8 and 7.7% year over year. So it's still taking on average almost a month for a listing to sell and a month and a half for a property to sell when you take into account all the times that a property has been terminated and relisted before it officially sells. Here's my kind of summary that I put out on Twitter covering this year over year summary. So yes, sales are up and they're up for the third straight month. So every month going back to March, we have seen sales increase on a year over year basis across the GTA, but average prices are down year over year for the 16th straight month. So you have to go all the way back to the beginning of 2025 to find the last time that we eked out a year over year gain in average prices. And again, focusing on those listing days on market, we're coming up on 3 years now, 32 straight months where listing days on markets have increased year over year, meaning buyers for the last 3 years have been appreciating having a little bit more time to mull a listing over, to make decisions, to come in with offers that better suit them. They have stronger negotiating power, getting their conditions in these offers, seeing that things are lasting a little longer. Sellers are still getting antsy. A couple weeks on market, if you're not sold yet, they're still getting antsy. It doesn't matter what you tell them about the market. People still have it in their mind that property is going to sell really quickly. It's just not the case anymore. And again, that's what we're seeing here with almost 3 straight years of properties just taking longer and longer to sell. Now we can break things down just a little bit further. This isn't going to be the full-on breakdown in terms of these most competitive markets, but we can see how each market segment is performing. So in the 416, we're seeing detached and semi-detached sales and condo apartment sales actually up 4.2% year over year. Those townhomes are down 17.5% year over year. In the 905, townhomes have been pretty hot relative to last year, up 12.3%, detached sales up 9%, condos up 4.2%, and that semi-detached market in the 905 is actually seeing sales trickle down. So while it's one of the hotter markets in the 416, and I wouldn't call it hotter market than townhomes, it's kind of flipped in the 905. When it comes to those average prices, we are down across the board, but it's really semis in the 416 that are holding up the best from last year, only down 0.6% when it comes to that average sale price. Now, the next part of the video is going to be that hyper-local theme, and it's kind of a warning to buyers. If you are looking in these areas, in these pockets, it is where you're going to encounter the most competition. And I'm basing this on the sale price to list price ratio, as well as days on market. So where the days on market the shortest, where that sale price to list price ratio the highest is going to really indicate where the most competitive markets are right now. Because yes, I know that sale price to list price has nothing to do with value, but it's a great indicator as to competition. If you're seeing a lot of properties selling for over that list price, it's telling you that things are being listed artificially low in these pockets. And if you are keen on getting into that market, you are going to have to compete with other buyers, waive some of your conditions just to be able to secure that home. So we look at all home types and we look at the 416 hottest market as the east end of Toronto. So we're talking east of the Don River, right up to really the Pickering border, and then up into Scarborough as well, going north of the 401 just a little bit. And on average, the sale price to list price ratio is 103%, and properties are selling on average in 20 days. So it's about 3 weeks, and properties are selling on average 4 more. This is based on 278 sales, and that kind of average sale price for May 2026 was $1.04 million. Now, Toronto East is a big market. There's actually 11 different kind of sub-districts within the Toronto East market, and the busiest one is the Toronto E01 market. So let me show you a map of where Toronto E01 is. And it's right here. So you're looking kind of south of the Danforth, all the way over to Coxwell, and then west to the river, really. So you're talking South Riverdale, North Riverdale, Greenwood, Coxwell area. This is where buyers across the board are seeing the most competition. It's going to get a little redundant later in the video. You're going to see here what I'm talking about. But again, on average, all property types, 110% of the list price is what they're selling for. And it's taking just more than 2 weeks for a property to sell. So almost a whole week shorter than the entire East Toronto area as a whole. That's based on 86 sales, and it's creeping up to about $1.3 million, that average sale price. Looking at the 905, the entire rest of the GTA that's not Toronto, if you're trying to buy a home in Pickering, that is where you're kind of up against the most competition right now. That average sale price to list price ratio is 101%. It's taking just about 3 weeks for the average listing to sell. And again, that was based on 126 sales and an average sale price of $927,000. Looking at all property types is nice, but you are looking for something specific if you're a home buyer right now. You're looking for a detached home, a semi, a townhome, maybe a condo. I'm not going to cover condos because condos are really hurting right across the board. There's really not much point in telling you there's competition anywhere. You have your pick of the litter in the condo market. But again, it is the east end of Toronto. Like I said, it's going to be redundant here, that is seeing the most competition when it comes to 416 markets. On average, you're seeing 102% sale price to list price ratio. It's taking about 2.5 weeks for properties to sell. It's based on 570 detached home sales in the East End at an average price of $1.22 million. Digging in further, we're going back to EO1, and this is just probably the craziest market right now, is that EO1 detached market where properties are selling for 115% of the list price in less than 2 weeks, so actually less than 10 days on average. That's based on 14 sales that we saw and a list or average sale price of $1.74 million. But again, you're probably seeing a lot of $999 listings here. You might be seeing some properties that are worth 1.7 being listed for 1.5, slamming open houses, slamming showing schedules, holding that offer night, and getting decent results for their clients. Back to Durham Region for your kind of hottest market when it comes to detached properties right now, and that is Ajax. So that 100% sale price to list price ratio you're seeing was actually mirrored by a couple other markets. I believe Aurora was also seeing about 100%, and Pickering, I think, was up there as well. Ajax had this tightest kind of days on market. So again, just over 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks to sell a home. That's based on 75 sales and that average sale price of just shy of $940,000. Again, making this more competitive. When you're talking proximity to Toronto, Ajax has decent transit into the city. Again, a lot of people looking in this pocket right now. You're seeing that offer night scenario being deployed even in the detached market because that average sale price is a little more affordable than you're seeing elsewhere in the GTA. So again, 905's hottest market in the detached right now, if you're a buyer, would be that Ajax detached market in May of 2026. Stepping down to the semis, and no surprise here with the 416, it's the East End again, coming at 110% of list price is the average sale. 13 days on market, so just shy of 2 weeks. It's based on 101 sales and an average sale price of $1.23 million. And again, it's EO1, 112% of list price is what they're selling for in an average of 12 days. That's based on 42 sales in May, and that average sale price is up at $1.43 million. Another market that is really tight in the East End is EO3, and that is at 112% of list price, selling in 11 days, so actually even a little quicker. That's based on 22 sales, so a little less activity than we're seeing in EO1 for an average sale price of $1.08 million. And back to our map to highlight where EO3 is. It's north of the Danforth, coming all the way over here to Vic Park, and then kind of cutting across through just north of Topham Park there, and then back down along the river. So here's where you're seeing some pretty hot semi-detached activity as well. For the 905, you're not coming back to Durham Region for semis. You're actually going out to Markham, where semis are selling on average for 104% of the list price. In just over 3 weeks, it's based on 20 sales, and the average sale price was $1.09 million. Lastly, we'll wrap up with townhomes. And again, we're going back to the East End of Toronto, where 104% of the list price is what things are selling for. Just shy of 3 weeks, based on 40 sales last month, and an average sale price of $982,000. Again, it's EO1, that Riverdale, Leslieville area, where we're seeing townhomes sell for 110% of the list price in less than 2 weeks, based on 11 sales, and that's $1.25 million for the average sale price. And then back into York Region for the most competitive townhome market last month, it was Richmond Hill, where things were selling for 103% of ask price in just over 3 weeks, based on 50 sales, with an average sale price of $1.06 million. So bottom line, if you're looking in the GTA for a freehold property right now, you're going to come up against a ton of competition in that East End of Toronto, specifically in that EO1 and EO3 pockets, the two pockets really closest to downtown Toronto. Whereas in the 905, you're looking anywhere in Durham Region for those detached properties. Pickering as a whole was pretty competitive as well. And getting into Markham and Richmond Hill for the competitive markets when it comes to the semis and the townhomes. Again, this does make sense when you talk about a kind of geocentric model where the highest prices and the most competition will be close to the city centers. We're seeing kind of less competition the further out you go, even in spite of prices being low. I mean, if you're looking at that entry-level price point, I'm working with quite a few buyers out here in Durham Region in areas like Oshawa, Clarington. Prices are lower. We are seeing this method deployed, these offer rate strategies as well. We're seeing them not work out, maybe more so often than you're seeing closer to the city. But again, if you're looking at that entry-level price point, be prepared for some competition as well. And if you're looking in these markets that I highlighted in this video, be prepared to be up against quite a few buyers, especially in this spring market. Will waiting for summer do you some good? Potentially. And for that, let's actually look back at some benchmark prices, looking at EO1 as an example, because it kind of highlights what is really going on in the rest of the market as well. Here's what it looks like over the last 10 years. And I've just called out May. This is for kind of all property types in Toronto's East End. And you can see that, like we said, lots of competition has driven prices up here more significantly than we've seen the last couple years from January. But the trend is still downwards every May, seeing prices come down. It really accelerated early. If we were to draw a bit of a parabola through these lines, it looks like it's flattening out a bit. Is this the bottom for prices in the East End? Like, I'd expect us to see bottoms in the 416 prior to the 905, again, using that geocentric model. But again, still down year over year, even though we are seeing some competition. And this is a similar trend that we are seeing elsewhere in the GTA. We'll use Pickering as an example for the rest of the GTA, the 905. We're not seeing that bottoming out curve. We actually saw maybe year-over-year losses in the benchmark price accelerate from 2025 to 2026 versus what we saw the past few years. So again, it leads me to believe that we are closer to a price bottom in the 416, specifically in those kind of desirable pockets, than we are in the rest of the 905. So that's what I'm seeing in the numbers, but I want to know in the comments what you are seeing as well. Are you seeing offer nights in your pocket? Are you a buyer right now that's coming up against a lot of competition? Or are you house hunting in a market that you really have your pick of the litter and you're having an easy time right now? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know, do you want to see a breakdown like this for other markets? I'm happy to do personalized reports and email them right off to you in a similar vein to this, to give you an idea and just really inform you with everything you need to make a great decision in this market. I really appreciate you sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Until we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss anything else going forward. And check out the videos on screen right now for some of the work that I have done in past weeks. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss anything else going forward. And check out the videos on screen right now for some of the work that I have done in past weeks.